When a form of music that our children like becomes linked with ghoulish images and violent theatrics and even suicide, it demands our attention. Perhaps more to the point, the children need our attention. Hundreds of thousands of teenagers are locked onto so-called heavy metal music. Are they despairing? What are their common bonds? And as Stone Phillips asks, is there a message that may be too loud for us to hear?
What is this garbage you're watching? I want to watch the news.
Good evening. It was rock and roll turned ugly.
A rock riot in New Jersey tops the local news.
There were nearly 36 arrests and a state trooper was injured.
A post-concert fight captures the headlines. A parking lot disturbance at one arena leads police to mobilize an army at the group's next stop. At issue, the impact of this loud, raucous music, heavy metal music, played here by the supergroup Iron Maiden. Screeching guitars, flamboyant bands, lyrics obsessed with sex, Satanism, and even suicide. This is not mainstream rock and roll. It's the music of today's teen rebellion. What's it about?
Togetherness, man. We gotta stick together and fight,
one
man.
giant family.
We gotta fight for our right, man. To listen to our music, to party, man.
As metal mania grows, so does the heavy metal debate.
I think it's time, as Frank Zappa was saying, if your kid comes home with an album with a guy with a chainsaw between his legs, you better find out what that music is talking about.
Critics say there's something seriously wrong with metal music, outrageous by design, that it may have contributed to a number of teenage suicides, like the ones in Bergenfield, New Jersey, March 11th. 4 young people died in a suicide pact. A heavy metal cassette box was found at the scene. Later that same week, reporters were at the scene of another suicide case in Illinois.
In this case, music may also be involved. Her family says Nancy Grannon was obsessed by lyrics from the rock band Metallica, lyrics she wrote down.
I have lost the will to live, simply nothing more to give. I will just say goodbye.
This videotape by a Christian group criticizes a song by Ozzy Osbourne linked to a 1984 teen suicide in California.
Consider now for yourself the words to Suicide Solution.
The music has prompted pickets, record burnings, even congressional hearings, where a call for record companies to print lyrics on album covers as a guide for concerned parents sparked a debate over censorship. Tipper Gore, co-founder of the Parents Music Resource Center.
Parents should realize that we have explicit and graphic sex, extreme violence, suicide in lyrics that is going to children that are sometimes not even teenagers yet and young teenagers.
I mean, that's why it annoys the hell out of me that people are saying that we're a negative influence. I just wish people would get a sense of proportion about what's right and wrong and who are the real people that are poisoning people's minds and why are they doing it. We say things to people that mean something. I mean, in our own little way that kids can relate to.
What are these heavy metal rockers saying to kids? And why are millions of teenage Americans listening? To find out, we went backstage at this heavy metal concert to meet Iron Maiden. And we went back to school to meet the kids who go to heavy metal concerts, who belong to the heavy metal crowd. Kids like these, with hormones popping, macho energy surging. Kids who will be our guides into a world most adults are strangers to. This is the high school in Teaneck, New Jersey, a school with a reputation for excellence. But like just about every other high school in America, Teaneck High has its own group of so-called tough kids, hoods or burnouts, some into drinking or drugs, others who aren't into much of anything at all, except heavy metal music. It's against the rules to play music in the halls at Teaneck High, so it's hard to tell here just who belongs to the heavy metal crowd and who doesn't. But after school, Teaneck's heavy metal contingent is hard to miss. Meet Alan, Mike, Nassim, and Melissa, 4 devoted heavy metal fans. This is it. This is the hot stuff. Alan, turn it off for a second so we can talk. Who is this? Who?
SOD.
SOD?
Stormtroopers of Death.
Stormtroopers of Death. What does that mean? Stormtroopers of Death.
It's just a name.
It calms me down. Cause like, you know, if anything's on my mind, I just go and sit in my room and play some music and just sit down and think.
And you can sort of drown out the world that way.
You know, it calms me down.
For the most part, these kids are not star athletes or straight-A students. Most don't belong to any high school clubs or hang out with the popular crowd. Often they feel like outcasts, like they don't fit in, especially in the classroom.
What do you wanna do with your life? I wanna rock!
It's like, you know, some people don't want to go to college. They want to do something else. I mean, once you get out of high school, you figure that you've been in school long enough and you don't want to, you know, spend any more time.
They spend their afternoons at the record store, flipping through albums, talking metal music with their friends. The music is what brings them together. It's their way of belonging, their rooms a retreat from school and from cliques they can't relate to.
They got preps in here. They got the nerds, and they got, you know, guys like us. The preps, they're the ones who always wear like they're in friggin' Hawaii or something. They wear those 10,000 like multicolor shirts, and you know, like those idiots over there, and they go and play frisbee in the middle of the field.
Shay Crabtree might be considered a prep. She used to go to Teaneck High and always believed the put-downs from the heavy metal crowd were just a cover.
Instead of people just ignoring them, saying they're heavy metal kids, they need some support. They need some people to inspire them, some people to look up to. I think being a teenager is a really lonely time. You don't know who to trust. Maybe when you grow up it's the same thing, but right now, I mean, I've never felt lonelier, and I think a lot of teenagers feel that way.
Lonely, she says, and worried, like a lot of teenagers, about things like nuclear annihilation. This song by the group Megadeth is about nuclear war.
Like, you talk about the future and everything, and like, there might not ever be a future because they're still making all these weapons and everything, and I think about peace a lot.
But make no mistake, this is not the summer of love. Folk music is not their thing.
There's a group called Motley Crue that's very popular with kids. They have an album that has sold 2 million copies with lyrics like this, quote, "Not a woman, but a whore. I can taste the hate. Well, now I'm killing you. Watch your face turning blue," unquote.
We asked the kids about that. They say parents pay more attention to the lyrics than they do. Those kind of songs you don't think it says the wrong kind of thing?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it shouldn't say, like, you know, bad things about what women do, you know, just like putting them down.
It's like not all songs talk about that, though, so you just avoid the music that you don't like, that's all.
And it's the same with songs about Satanism and suicide. The kids in Teaneck say they were shocked by the suicides in Bergenfield, the town next door. But they still think it's wrong to blame the music.
Why didn't we kill ourselves yet? Because we listen to the same thing, and if the music calls them to kill themselves, well, why didn't we?
This song, Kill Yourself, you know. I mean, it's the song, you're not going to go out and do it. I mean, unless you got real bad problems and everything, you know.
It's like not the music that's going to kill you, it's yourself.
Music journalist Charles Young has written about the heavy metal culture and believes it may be healthy in a way.
Heavy metal speaks to the anger and despair of teenagers today, the same way that the blues used to speak to the despair and anger of black people in the South. Without heavy metal, there would probably be a lot more suicides, because metal and certain other forms of rock give teenagers something to believe in that they get no place else.
Basically, Teaneck's metal fans feel adults just overreact to the music, don't understand it or give it a chance. Like the teenager in this music video, they feel themselves constantly colliding with the adult world.
If it's too loud, you're too old.
Take Jay's father, for example. He never shared his son's devotion to the music, never quite understood, as Jay transformed himself into a heavy metal aficionado at age 5.
I kept telling myself that I had to appreciate his music, and I would listen to it, and it lasted about 30 seconds, and then I'd yell, turn it down. But seriously, I have no objection to what music he likes to listen to, and if...
Would you?
What?
Turn it down.
Would I turn it down? No. I turn it up. Louder.
I don't know what heavy metal is really like. Could it be worse than...
Can I give her
like
a sample?
Alan's mom tolerates the heavy metal culture, or tries to.
If it's like the music that you listen to. This is heavy metal.
And the music is mild compared to this. This is called moshing, a dance popular among the metal crowd. At times, it looks more like a contact sport. And what about this? Stage diving, a common occurrence at heavy metal concerts all over the country. Jay broke his wrist stage diving a few months ago. Fellow fans insist they look out for one another.
You don't want to get hurt. Everybody... It's kind of brotherhood. No one wants to get hurt. Everybody keeps their arms down. It looks, I have to admit, when I first thought
I got scared, but it's not. I'm all sweaty, but it's fun.
Still, some counseling groups say heavy metal is out of control and advocate a tough stance with rules to de-metal kids, impose a dress code, tear down posters, and turn off the stereos.
If you come home late, they start bitching at you and everything, you know, or clean your room, or take the dog out, or something like that, you know. You can't go up to them and, you know, tell them to go to hell, so you just keep all your anger and stuff.
My parents would I said, Dad, can I get an earring? He's like, I'll kill you. I'll rip out your ear. It's like he said, I'll kick you out of the house, get your name changed, spaghetti. And then I was like, what's so wrong about having an earring? There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean anything. There's anything bad about it. Look,
that's what they think.
Look,
like,
they think, he's a girl. He's a girl. Only girls wear that. Who says?
Tipper Gore has written a book for parents in the 80s. We asked her where she thinks parents should draw the line.
I advocate a system where people can make up their own minds according to their own values and their own assessment of where their child is on the developmental spectrum.
And if your 13-year-old daughter wants to listen to this, will you let her?
To heavy metal music? I'm not sure. It would depend on what group.
The Iron Maiden Group, one of the best known among more than 1,500 heavy metal bands, is a worldwide phenomenon. They've even taken their act behind the Iron Curtain, where their fans look and act the same. Rock promoter John Scher.
What happens at concerts now is vastly different than the scene that surrounded concerts in the 60s and 70s. It's become a almost tribal kind of gathering place. It has a lot more to do with socialization than it does just the music.
When Maiden played this year at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, we went with our group from Teaneck.
When you're part of a crowd, you are incredibly powerful, and there's no drug, there's nothing that can approach that feeling of exhilaration.
When the concert was over, we took them backstage. They got autographs from some of the band members. And we got to talk to one of their idols, Maiden's Bruce Dickinson. We asked him what he says when critics accuse heavy metal of inciting outrageous, even sick behavior.
You mean like selling arms to Iran? Or you mean like, all these guys doing insider dealing? Or you mean like all these companies dumping toxic wastes everywhere, But because they wear suits and ties, it's okay. They're not sick. Where else can these kids go where they come somewhere and they all feel a sense of, this is our thing,
Dickinson acknowledges, though, that heavy metal kids may be telling us something about how they feel pushed out and put down, about their needs, and about how they're coping with the pressures teenagers face today, from family breakups to drugs.
And maybe if you listen, you might understand a little of what he's trying to go through, and then you might understand why he likes things, why he doesn't like things, and ultimately you find out that he's a good kid after all.
You know, Stan, this is hostile music, and these are kids who seem to feel that the world out there is hostile to them. So much of it is a matter of self-esteem. But the music itself isn't what does them harm.
No, even the critics that we talk to, among them, none says that the music alone is going to cause a child to commit suicide, for instance. I think the point is, talking to these teenagers who are into heavy metal music, that they're not necessarily looking for a heavy discussion with parents or teachers about the meaning of their music, but the point is, tune in and let it be known that